How was it before?
Many say it wasn't so good.
To put it simply, they needed to be buffed.
There was a bit of a shock.
It's our gift to those who tried hard.
Mouse was dominating there.
But it's normal. Perfectly normal. Last year, in December, during WG Fest, we announced a large number of changes and modifications. Obviously, one of the hottest topics was the rebalancing of Soviet vehicles. Many problems and facts accumulated. Many tanks became outdated, both culturally and in terms of their specifications. Therefore, we gradually approached this issue.
We're trying to bring all Tier 10 vehicles, or Tier 8, 9, and 10 vehicles to be more exact, to a common standard. Tier 8 vehicles should provide gameplay resembling a Tier 10 vehicle, and the difference between the tiers shouldn't be so large. For example, we have a Tier 8 vehicle without an autoloader, and suddenly a Tier 10 vehicle has an autoloader and a higher alpha damage. And because of this, you don't understand how to play on it.
We're correcting the branches to provide players with smoother gameplay progress in coherent vehicles.
We're trying to do this carefully and smoothly, especially in contrast with Update 9.17.1, where we did it straight from the shoulder.
We significantly rebalanced German vehicles and Japanese vehicles.
In general, it went well, but afterwards, some rebalance and nerf work had to be done.
By the end of this summer, we finally got a chance to modify Soviet vehicles and French vehicles, and to make further changes to the already modified German heavy tanks, and so on.
Now, we want to make changes that will be applied where they're needed. If the vehicle turns out to be a little bit weak, we'll buff it in the next update, or in the update following the next one.
We can't buff vehicle branches all at once. That's why we're introducing the elements of Balance 2.0, which we've long been talking about and which we tested in the sandbox, to the game just now. It's a systematic process, and it'll be continued.
Many vehicles will be rebalanced in Update 9.20. One of them is the mouse.
The tank was overbuffed. First of all, it was overbuffed in terms of DPM. Its gun was too good, in addition to its huge HP and armor capacity.
We got a huge number of replays where the mouse tanks were simply dominating. There was a bit of a shock. We didn't expect that the tank would be so powerful.
We're going to nerf its HP and gun performance, but the presence of super heavies will remain in the game.
We always try to keep the strong points of a vehicle. In other words, the mouse won't lose its thick armor. It's the strongest part of the tank, thanks to which it can survive for a long time in battle. But it doesn't mean that it should be able to deliver damage similar to the AMX-50B or other tanks specialized in delivering high damage. The situation with Japanese vehicles is a bit trickier. We're planning changes to their armor and mobility. Not to their dynamics, but to their maneuverability and speed of turret rotation. Because these vehicles, while having superb armor, were very good at spinning. You could easily find yourself in a situation where you couldn't outmaneuver a huge Japanese tank.
We've got a large amount of feedback and statistics on the Type 4 Heavy and Type 5 Heavy that are currently considered a bit imbalanced.
We made slight changes to the armor of these vehicles. It was decided to add 2 weak spots in the tanks that provide a better chance for penetration. The armor is 10 mm and 20 mm thinner, respectively. Changes in this update will also affect the patent branch. It's one of the oldest branches in the game.
The M46 patent has had its ups and downs. Currently, the tank is comfortable enough. The situation with the M48 patent is different. It's a very big tank, actually.
And it was equipped with a huge, I'd say gigantic, cupola. Only the Type 59 patent has a bigger one.
We found a variant without such an enormous cupola. We'll introduce it in Update 9.20 and see.
Players will enjoy better armor performance, Not so significant in Tier 9 vehicles, but very significant in Tier 10 ones. Along with a much smaller cupola, the tank will feel better than it does now.
Чувствует себя намного лучше, чем он чувствует сейчас.
We've long been planning to make changes to such tanks as the AMX-30 and AMX-30B of Tier 9 and 10, respectively.
Tanks required some distinctive features. To put it simply, they needed to be buffed.
They will be equipped with improved mantlet armor. It'll be much thicker. The main feature of these tanks will be very high DPM. However, not every player will be able to use it in practice. But those who have high skills will master these tanks and will demonstrate very good performance.
As for the Bat-Chatillon, many lances were broken. This tank has good potential, but not every player can fulfill it. Therefore, a lot depends on players' skills. Of course, you can easily empty one clip, deliver the standard 1,500 points of damage. It's quite easy. But then you go to the garage. The main point of playing on the Bat-Chatillon is to fully implement its dynamics, amount of ammunition, and the high damage delivery of its autoloader.
We wanted to change its gun for a gun with a lesser alpha damage capacity, but a higher number of shells and more effective specifications.
Naturally, owners of the Bat-Chatillon tanks and those who sympathize with them didn't like it. We checked super test feedback and we decided to roll back our changes to the Bat-Chatillon.
Therefore, no changes to the Bat-Chatillon in this update.
We're not concerned about the fact that we left the Bat-Chatillon unchanged and that it will keep dominating in battle. It will dominate, but only in the right hands. There's a category of players who are able to deliver high damage on any vehicle, no matter how lame it might be. They ensure high survivability, high WN8 performance, high ratings, etc. But it's normal. Perfectly normal. As for the Foch branch, the situation is quite simple. The Tier 10 tank is bad. It's not able to compete with its counterparts. We made a decision to fix it.
We decided to change its gun, nerf its alpha damage capacity, but increase the number of shells in the autoloader. It'll have 400 points of alpha damage. It seems too low for a Tier 10 tank destroyer, but 6 shells in the autoloader will provide almost 2,500 points of damage.
It'll make the branch more consistent. Tier 8, 9, and 10 vehicles will now all have an autoloader. Instead of the 155mm gun, the Foch will have a 120mm gun.
The tank's penetration capacity is equal to that of the AMX-50B. This means it's the same gun with a penetration capacity of 260mm. It can't penetrate all targets by using auto-aim, similar to some Tier 10 tank destroyers. This means you have to move around, aim at your target, and even outmaneuver enemy tanks. For that purpose, we increased the elevation and depression angles, and side armor thickness. It used to be 40mm, but now it's about 80mm, and according to the 3 calibers rule, the sides won't be penetrated. This means that you can attack an IS-3 from any angle more safely. It'll hurt, but not as much as before.
The new Foch with a 120mm gun is almost equal to the Foch 155. However, we decided that the latter would stay in the game. If you have the Foch 155 in your garage when Update 9.20 is released, you'll keep it and additionally get the Foch 120. It's our gift to those who tried hard to research this tank and add it in their garage. We're planning to use this scheme in the future when modifying Tier 10 vehicles. It'll apply to almost all modified vehicles, except very toxic ones.
You can get detailed information on our portal, all conditions and everything that relates to this tank.
I'll tell you how it was before. Chinese tank destroyers were introduced at a request from our partners in China. The Chinese adore their national content, you know. That's how the Type 59 appeared in the game as the first Chinese tank. Then other tanks were introduced, and later became popular in other regions. People researched them, purchased them, etc.
When we announced our plans to introduce new tanks only on the Chinese server, we received many negative comments. Why can't we have them?
We got a large amount of feedback. We want these too. Give us all the content.
That's why we decided to release these vehicles on other servers in the future as well.
First of all, of course, we focused on what players were asking for. We have documented player requests, calculated their number, etc. As for the branch, I cannot say it's unique in any way. We can't demand this from it.
But in terms of gameplay, these vehicles actually differ from the ones we have at the moment. The fact that the vehicles were initially released in China doesn't mean we didn't try to make them unique. We did try, and now players can see if we succeeded or not. In addition, patch 9.20 will bring changes to the top Soviet tank destroyers. The ISU-152, Object 704, and Object 268. The Object 268 has long stopped being relevant for a number of reasons. The key problems are that its shells fly pretty slowly, and its gun has poor horizontal angles. We increased shell velocity and the gun constraints, and now you'll feel much better playing this tank. These figures may seem insignificant at first, but take a look at the situation with the Chinese 121 tank. The elevation and depression angles of its guns were increased by only 1.5 degrees, but it became a virtually new tank, and playing the 121 is much more convenient now. The same thing will happen with the 268. As for the Object 704 and ISU-152, things are more complicated here. In the ISU-152, we decided to change the gun a little. We fitted this vehicle with another gun, the D4S. The new gun deals the same alpha damage, 750. That's the peculiarity of Soviet vehicles. They have large alpha, a big hammer, but the penetration capability was decreased to 260 millimeters. It's still very high, but you won't be able to penetrate Tier 9 and 10 vehicles using the auto-aim. So we wanted to preserve this progression. You get the D4S, then BL-10, and then M64, for the Object 268 if I'm not mistaken. The sequence of penetration capacity and other characteristics of these guns is preserved. The Object 704 underwent hardly any changes. The tank still has the BL-10 as its top gun, but it received the D4S as an intermediate gun. The penetration capacity of the D4S is also pretty large, 260 millimeters, so you can play with it pretty conveniently too.
As for the Soviet medium tank branch, primarily the T-44 and T-54, it was high time to buff them, which we actually did.
In the T-44, we changed turret armor, stabilization, penetration capacity, and other specifications. The things that held back its effectiveness in battle. The T-54 underwent some massive changes. We all remember that before the Cockroach, as we called this tank, was reworked into HD, it could block damage with its turret pretty well. This is similar to what happened with the T-44. After the vehicle was reworked into HD, it basically lost its primary strength, the turret. We decided to fix this, and now the armor of the T-54's turret is similar to what it was before. Consequently, you can now play your turret with this tank as you used to do a few years ago. Besides this, we tweaked both of the T-54's guns, the primary and the alternative ones. We brought them up to date.
We provided the T-54 with an alternative gun to adapt the vehicle for different playstyles, based on distance or based on maneuvers.
The T-54's main gun, the one it had from the very beginning, has long become outdated. It had 2.9 seconds of aiming time and very poor stabilization. Playing the tank was really difficult. We upgraded the gun, improved stabilization and aiming, so that it feels great in battle. I think many players will start using it again when picking the T-54. The alternative gun, in its turn, is tailored for fighting at a closer distance. Its penetration capacity isn't that good, but the gun has excellent damage per minute. This gun is the king of close quarters battles. So with the T-54, you can now experience two completely different gameplay styles. Play it in totally different ways.
There were many questions about how we were going to draw a line between the Object 140 and T-62A in terms of gameplay, and what we were going to do with the Object 430. We decided not to overhaul the whole branch at once. We'll see how the new T-44 and T-54 are doing, and only then we'll decide if we should divide the roles of the T-62A and Object 140, and most importantly, what to do with the Object 430. These vehicles will undergo some changes as soon as we've come to a decision and tested different variants of their behavior. Of course, this would be logical, especially concerning gameplay of the T-62A and Object 140, but it's easier said than done.
The simplest thing to change in the Object 140 is to reinforce the armor on its roof. Besides two pretty big cupolas on the turret, the tank also got penetrated through the roof. We decided to fix this, and now it's more difficult to penetrate this vehicle.
Since this isn't the last iteration of changes in Soviet vehicles, specifically in medium tanks, we aren't afraid that the Object 140 will immediately become more attractive and take away some of the T-62A's popularity. Firstly, the T-62A is a pretty convenient, good tank. Secondly, if needed, we can tweak the T-62A as well. We do have a goal to make them more different in terms of gameplay. It's just that we won't do this now.
Our players have long been waiting for changes in one of the oldest tanks in the game, the IS-7.
However, some people are saying that the new Chinese top-tier tank is better, and we don't need the IS-7 anymore.
Many people say it's not so good. This isn't quite true. Nevertheless, the IS-7 did need some improvements.
We simply had to improve the IS-7, I mean the entire tank, giving it more hit points, leveling up other characteristics.
And we'll do this. The tank will reach its maximum speed faster, feature improved dynamics, and have 2,400 hit points, which is 250 more than it had before. In addition, the tank will snap onto a target a bit faster. Now its aiming time is just 2.9 seconds. And there's more HP, better mobility, and good armor, which will make the IS-7 a lot more effective on the battlefield. As a matter of fact, at the public test, players will be able to check out the changes and give their feedback, which we will study very meticulously.
Of course, we also modified some premium vehicles, such as the T-44-100 and the T-54 first prototype. We do realize that players have high expectations from us. We have many questions and problems concerning premium vehicles with a preferential matchmaker. And after the new matchmaker was implemented in the game, they lost their competitive edge. Previously, these vehicles were tailored for special conditions, but we will definitely deal with this issue in the future. And we didn't forget about the KB5. At the moment, we're carrying out experiments on how to get it right in every way. As soon as we're ready, we'll definitely show and tell you what we've decided to do with it. Plus, there are many issues with the grille. As a matter of fact, we were ready to launch one of the variants of its improvement either in Update 9.20 or in the next patch. But then, I'll be frank with you, we decided not to hurry and conduct additional internal tests for the variants of the grille's modification, profound modification. Consequently, you shouldn't expect the grille to be rebalanced or changed for something else until the end of the year. We continue to work on it.
All these balance fixes will make gameplay for many vehicles much better and improve irrelevant branches. People who once researched these vehicles will be able to return to them and enjoy playing them much more than before. We do believe players will like these fixes.
As a player, of course I'm happy. I have all Tier 10 vehicles in my garage, and frankly speaking, the M48A1 Patton has been one of my favorite tanks for a long time. As a matter of fact, 9.20 is an update without serious nerfs, I mean radical ones. Indeed, many vehicles were reworked profoundly, but the general trend is their improvement. So we either buffed or seriously rebalanced vehicles. That's what we did. However, this doesn't mean that the next patch that follows 9.20 will be full of nerfs, which we postponed and moved from this update to the next one. This means that we will continue our systematic work on rebalancing the current branches.
We carefully study all the feedback on the changes that we've implemented. So we're waiting for you in the public test. Waiting for your comments.